Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, Dave Patterson, Graham Noble, and Scott Cosenza. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, the incontrovertible truth. 3 presidential candidates speaking under the same roof? Yep, and we will catch you up. And libertarians entertain outsiders. Then it's all about gaming the system, and Democrats play a dangerous game. There's also the latest development in the equality war in a dim view of women. And we go all in with Just for Fun, Volume 50. All this and more coming up in this edition of the Conservative
What is the Republican Party?
During last weekend's Libertarian Party convention, former Georgia Senate candidate Chase Oliver emerged as their presidential nominee. He likes to refer to himself as armed and gay, but before that decision, as expected in the crazy atmosphere of American politics, the party invited Donald Trump and RFK Jr. to give it their best shot at winning over the crowd. President Biden was also invited. He deferred. Maybe that was a good strategy on his part, as the boos were somewhat amplified for the other two. Liberty Nation was actually on the ground at the convention to see all the hoopla for himself. Scott Cosenza, Esquire, give us the straight skinny, please.
Well, you're right that Biden wasn't there to be booed, but I don't think that accrues to his benefit. Trump went in and mixed it up, and the Libertarians in the battleground states, in several of the battleground states, the number of people who voted for the Libertarian candidate for president in the last cycle was greater than the margin of victory. So if all those votes, for instance, went to Biden or Trump, it would assure them victory in the upcoming election, for instance. So I think it was a great play to go for the Libertarians. It is the most significant third party in this country, and they have wide ballot access. And I don't think it costs Donald Trump anything. I know we'll hear more about the politics of it in terms of votes for people who were already going to vote for Donald Trump. So if he gained votes, it's all a win for him. And I think that, I could just tell you that I was impressed as a reporter in the room, and I'm a small L libertarian, which is to say that I'm not a current party member, but I am a member of that political group in terms of it was impressive that he came and addressed libertarians and spoke to their concerns. And I was there for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and a little bit of Sunday. And all the people I spoke with, I only found a few who completely rejected the idea that Trump should be invited there or allowed to speak. Everyone else, with some small exception, was happy that he was there addressing their concerns from the libertarian perspective. They thought that it might be a win for Trump, but it was also a win for libertarianism.
It's unlikely their outsider would gain a whole lot of traction, but in your mindset, Dave, who lost the least? Was it RFK Jr. or Trump?
Well, Sarah, to take a page out of Andrew's Economics 101 book, I think that the one who lost the least would be the one who invested the least. So I'd say, Donald Trump lost the least. I mean, he put in 34 minutes and, trying to appeal to libertarians. If you have any kind of an agenda for positive change, clearly stated outcomes, it's going to be a hard sell in a crowd that nominates a fellow whose claim to fame is that he never won an election when he ran for Congress and believes that a reasonable goal in the November general election is 2% of the vote. Most American voters, I don't think, warm to candidates who are admittedly disruptors. Robert Kennedy, on the other hand, I believe sees each of these events that he participates in as, if not a must win, or at least a must be influential substantially. That's not true with Trump, I don't believe. Generally, I think Trump's objective is visiting these non-traditional political groups to demonstrate a legitimate desire to address Americans' needs in all points of view. And I think that came across in what he said. It's why Biden does not do this, because his campaign doesn't want to address the needs of a wide variety of folks who have needs. And basically, I don't think he cares one way or the other. There are specific venues where Trump wants to be persuasive. The rally in Bronx was a good example, and I think that that was a win for him.
Well, the rally in New Jersey was even bigger. I mean, that was, I've never seen anything like that. But I'm wondering now if we have over diluted the protest vote. Maybe it's just these guys are going to be less of a threat than before, Graham. I mean, am I crazy, or does this seem to be just scattering now?
Well, at the end of the day, I'm not sure that I really believe that anybody, any third party or independent candidate is ever much of a threat, except now, normally I would say that every election cycle, except this time around, I do believe that RFK does actually pose a somewhat significant threat to Biden's chances of being reelected. As for the Libertarians, well, I'm kind of like Scott. I'm very much a small L libertarian. I don't have a great deal of respect for the Libertarian Party. I just think that, when are these people ever going to get their act together? But in terms of, libertarian principles and libertarian economics, and I'm very much aligned with all of that. I do think it was a great idea on the part of the Libertarians to invite both of those candidates, and even to invite Joe Biden. It was obvious that Biden was never going to set foot inside a Libertarian Party convention. But, kudos to both Trump and RFK that they did. And as actually Mr. Cosenza said on a recent episode of Liberty Nation, it was really... the Libertarian Party could consider it a feather in their cap, if you like, that both of these candidates deigned to actually show up and address them, because that actually shows that these two candidates, at least, take them seriously as a voting bloc. I think it's a bit weird that RFK would think for 1 second that Libertarians are going to warm to him, because he's apart from the being opposed to vaccine mandates, there's nothing that RFK shares with Libertarians ideologically, as far as I can tell. I mean, he pretends to on some issues, but then
I can tell you that he gives a good speech, Graham.
Sorry?
He sounded a bit like a libertarian when he was speaking to the assembled.
Well, I think that was contrived entirely, because he said, he said so many things that lead us to believe that he is about as far from libertarian as you could possibly get. I mean, he referred to the NRA as a terrorist organization and stuff like that.
That wasn't lost on the assembled either.
Right. Good.
Well,
Good.
I can only imagine. That's where the booze came from. Andrew.
Yes.
Okay, what the elephant in the room is.
I would have agreed with Graham Noble that this was a great idea. But at the end of the day, when they chose Chase Oliver as the nominee, many Libertarian Party voters are now going to switch to either RFK or Trump, because this Chase Oliver guy, he is not a byproduct of the whole Mises caucus of the Libertarian Party. Now that he's the pick, you have mainstream Libertarians, Clint Russell, the redheaded Libertarian. These people are actively saying we are not going to support the Libertarian Party now. And it's understandable. This Chase Oliver guy, armed and gay, he says, he likes drag queen story time. He likes wearing masks, all this nonsense. And maybe Scott can answer this to me, but how did he win the nomination when the Mises caucus is supposed to be?
Okay, so let's just pause for a second here. And Sarah was talking about the commutation for Ross Ulbricht, which I hope we'll get to in a minute. But Andrew's talking about a schism within the Libertarian Party that happened over the past basically 2 election cycles, and created this kind of breakaway movement to get sort of libertarians back in charge of libertarianism. And they got control of the party in the form of the party chair and many of the power positions, but they weren't able to carry the vote for the nominees. And Dave Smith, who was the most kind of publicly forward kind of spokesperson for that movement, he's a comedian, he's been on Rogan and so forth. He said that what happened was there weren't enough votes for either one side to make the difference, and the middle broke the way it did. And that was just, a number of people that aren't involved in the inside baseball kind of, Mises Caucus schism. They were the controlling vote that went for this more what seemed as like a mainstream choice. And so that's the reason for the schism. But I just want to turn the conversation back to the millions of people that cast a vote for Libertarian Party candidates and what they're going to do. And that's, I think, I think it was a bit of a political genius move on Trump's part. If he can go and get 1% of the vote in 2 of these swing states with this appeal to Ross Ulbricht with the commutation and this appeal to libertarians, and I think he can, well, like you said, it was 26 minutes, whatever it cost him. I mean, talk about bang for your buck. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Plus, he also told Tim Pool during the convention in an interview that was released the day after that he was seriously considering pardoning Julian Assange. Now, I doubt that's going to happen, but at least that's another way to, extend the olive branch to the Libertarian Party. And I will say it was great. Donald Trump, he's a politician, but he's a comedian. He has that pro wrestler personality. This guy is just an entertaining guy. And, that was the highlight of that convention.
All right, now we're going to pivot.
Authentic Trump for that moment. That's for sure. He wasn't.
We are going to pivot. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Trump jumped out and decided to vow he would commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht, the founder of Silk Road, who is currently serving 2 life sentences for his platform. And I don't know if that moved the needle at all for people that, the libertarians know who he is, but will that move the libertarian vote, Scott?
I spoke with multiple delegates and attendees at the convention for whom it will do just that. It is a deliverable promise, deliverable on day one. That's what Trump said. On the first day of his presidency, he would commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht, who is a hero, like a victim survivor of the federal government in the eyes of many libertarians. The signs, the Free Ross signs, were papering the room when Trump spoke. He founded the Silk Road, which was a kind of an eBay for illegal drugs, if you will, using Bitcoin to guarantee anonymity on one side of the transaction, which is why it took a long time for it to be shut down. And Ulbricht, who was not convicted of any crime of violence, was sentenced to more than 2 life terms. And so it's those facts that generate the sympathy and outrage over his case, and why it's going to be easy for Donald Trump to justify that to anybody else. When you look at the facts, you wonder, why doesn't Biden beat him to the punch and already pardoned the guy or commuted his sentence? The idea that a nonviolent drug deal facilitator should be serving double life is, odious to many.
I've got a follow-up question. And that is, that was a platform. Okay, it's dark web. It was a platform. Was he convicted of actually doing all of the sales and lining those up?
He just facilitated them in a highly effective way.
He facilitated them. Okay, that's what I wanted clarification on.
Yes. And by the way, his motivation for doing so, as stated at the outset, was to remove the pall of violence and shadiness over drug transactions. For some Americans, that may seem laughable, but for Ross, it was a very real thing. Why should a person who wishes to buy and consume drugs also have to suffer through, going to the shady side of town and getting robbed or worse, maybe, because of their want to purchase these prohibited goods?
He should have.
Or are we handing out safe needles and safe spaces now? Isn't that what we're doing now in a lot of different places? We're doing, drug dens where people can get high and be safe.
Yes,
am I wrong?
Of course. No, you're exactly right. I mean, if he had done it in Oregon or San Francisco, he'd be a free man today.
All righty. Well, that took a weird turn. Anyway, guys, you heard it from the convention attending horse's mouth, that Mr. Scott Cosenza. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks, panel. Just when you think a political party in America has run out of plays, well, there's a new playbook. Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein set the game of mousetrap in motion by posting a serious accusation against the Democratic National Committee. It was a job posting seeking somebody to mitigate third-party threats. That's the term, mitigate. Like Stein, like RFK Jr., and the Libertarians, for instance. So who might want to apply to the independent and third-party project manager position? Pay $65,000. Straight up spies infiltrating enemy camps? Or hey, Graham, am I wrong? Does this smell like an op?
Well, no, I think it absolutely is. And it's kind of funny because we hear so much from the Democrats about them defending us against threats to democracy. But of course, the irony is, and historically, the political left has always done this. They've always hidden behind the veil of democracy. And yet they have very little interest in it. I mean, if you're really in love with the whole democratic process, then you are quite happy for as many people to compete for the top, political jobs in the country as possible. Why would you want to try to fight a kind of stealth war against independent candidates and third-party candidates, which is what they're doing? And of course, they're mostly worried. I don't think they really are concerned too much about Jill Stein and the Green Party, but they certainly are probably concerned about RFK. There are some worrying surveys coming out, and this whole idea that I think if anyone believes that RFK is going to take as many votes from Trump as he takes from Biden, I think that person is you're taking some kind of drugs anyway. Maybe you've been on Silk Road yourself. But a recent Cook report, and to give the proper credits for this survey, actually, it's a Cook political report /BSG/GS strategy group survey, and it came out probably about I want to say 10 days, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And it was a survey of voters in 6 states: Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan. 7 actually, North Carolina and Wisconsin. And in every single one of those states, RFK got between 7 and 10% of the vote.
Wow.
Now, when surveys were done just comparing Trump to Biden, then Trump's lead was always less of a lead because he was leading in every one of those states except Wisconsin. But Trump's lead was always less of a lead by anything between 2, 3, 4 points, less of a lead head to head than when the poll was done with Jill Stein and RFK thrown in there. Suddenly, Trump's lead over Biden increased by, as I said, 2 to 4 points in every case. So this is obviously the Biden campaign's main worry. And yes, this is definitely an op, and they're basically trying to. They're trying to kind of a stealth sabotage operation against RFK mainly, which for defenders of democracy, I find is kind of amusing.
So Andrew, are we gonna have on our financial, disclosure statements at the end of the campaign, are we gonna line item spies? I mean, how are they gonna get away with? I mean, that's what it was. I mean, I know they took the post down.
It will go down as legal expenses, just the way Hillary Clinton did when she paid for the Steele dossier back in 2016.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's not illegal if you misbill legal expenses if you're not Donald Trump. It's totally cool.
Oh.
But see, your question is how they get away with it. When is anyone hardly ever accountable in politics? It's rare to find any of the mainstream parties ever held accountable, as unless, of course, as Scott just alluded to, your name is Donald Trump. Now, but of course, it's a worthwhile investment for the Democratic Party or for any of the mainstream parties because they've done it for decades. They learned it from the communists who would infiltrate all the parties and all these political ideologies. But to piggyback on what Graham was saying, the polls show that 5-way race, on average benefits Trump. So if the Democrats see the likes of Jill Stein or Cornel West even taking votes away from Biden, the party will do everything in its power to erect roadblocks to other parties or candidates that do not possess the same resources the RNC or DNC. Because do you see anyone from the Green Party infiltrating the Democratic Party? Of course not. And of course, the Libertarian Party is just going to self-destruct anyway. So I highly doubt the DNC is investing anything whatsoever in the LP. And I'm sorry, Scott, the LP, I can go on for hours of how bad.
I'm not an LP member, so no apology needed.
Scott's very clear on that. Also, I want to ask, is the Republican Party doing the same thing? Are these tactics that everyone is doing?
I would start by saying I would never put it past the Republicans to do that. If there were several kind of right of center independent candidates or third parties, I mean, all there is the Libertarian Party. So do I think the Republicans are putting any resources whatsoever into trying to sabotage the Libertarian Party? No, not really, no. I mean, if there was maybe several other independent right of center candidates, I wouldn't put it past the Republican Party to do that at all. But then they're not the ones that have to do it. It's the Democrats, the ones that got the problem with that.
The only confirmation we have on this is that Democrats are doing it both through Ms. Stein's posting, and of course, we know what they did to Bernie Sanders. That's that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy fact. The party conspired to destroy the candidacy of the chief challenger to Hillary Clinton's nomination. So that's all out in the open.
Well, Dave,
Yes.
has sorry, beep, beep, beep. That's all, folks. Is this gonna hurt anybody, or is it just something people are going to roll their eyes at and go, yeah, whatever? They took the posting down, but they'll just reword it, right?
Yeah, I know. I think that, from just a quick glance at all of this going on, I think it's really, chalked up as something that's really stupid to put a help wanted ad out in the public. And you have to ask yourself, well, who's going to actually compete for this job? The perfect entry-level position for this is a 24-year-old liberal with a master's degree in something like early Elizabethan literature, with an emphasis, on Edmund Spenser's use of the comma, with no job.
Well,
with no job, living in his parents' basement with a pet hamster.
Did you just assign gender to the to the hypothetical person, Dave?
Of course,
I think that's wrong.
Of course,
I think you have to. I think it has to be understood that if you are a straight white male, even if you are a raving progressive, but you're a straight white male, there is no point applying for this job because you're not getting it.
You should step aside for any employment, lest you take a position from the less fortunate, right?
Look, when you really look at this, I mean, I think that what got Dr. Stein's goat was the statement, and it's not subtle. That the third party candidates getting them off the ballot, and I thought the offending sentence was, volunteers for the petition review and other legal adjacent support. That's a good one. Legal adjacent support for potential ballot access challenges. Again, the fact is that most campaigns do similar stuff, but they're clever enough to call it opposition research. And they're much more careful about putting it out in public. But then the DNC is not known for its, lack of hubris.
I have a question here. There's an economist, Peter St. Onge, and he criticized. And again, we're pivoting to the Libertarian Party, but his message pretty much was that, why not just infiltrate these two mainstream parties? Because there's no third parties ever going to succeed. No independent candidates ever going to succeed. So why not at the national level, at the very least, just infiltrate them, try to transform them from the inside, and that's the best way to advance whatever cause you have. So in our case, the cause of liberty, but in others for the cause of socialism. Whatever the case, why not just do it that way as opposed to embracing the green parties and some socialist party? I forgot the name. We had a segment on the show a few weeks ago talking about a party that loves veganism and socialism and animal rights or something like that. So these parties are useless. There's never going to be more than 3 parties in the United States. Why bother at this point?
Okay, all right, well, good, because we're going to close this one out. I'm tired of herding cats. I certainly wish I could say I'm surprised at the behavior of the DNC, but it's politics in 2024. And no one respects anybody anymore, and fair play is gone like yesterday. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, panel. We'll keep you all posted. The war on women. We hear that a lot. But what about women denigrating and belittling other women? Come on, man. Where's all the estrogen power when you need it? Case in point is the popular show with angry, hurtful women of all creeds and colors, The View. This week, co-host Sunny Hostin went into a serious mean girl mode and attacked NCAA women's basketball and current Indiana Fever star, Caitlin Clark. Geez, how low can one rabid hyena pack go to say Caitlin makes more money because she is white and pretty, not because she was the NCAA Division I scoring leader? I know you're a big fan of The View, Dave. Is Caitlin simply a pretty white privileged loser?
Well, Sarah, snagging a $28 million deal with Nike doesn't qualify you as a loser by most definitions of the word, pretty, white, or not. But by the way, you do have one criteria that you have to meet, and that is tall. I don't think that any of the View panelists will ever be accused of being among the great thinkers of history, honestly. You can imagine the journal of great intellects in history extolling Plato, Aristotle, Ptolemy, Whoopi, Sonny Who, Austin. Not likely. Caitlin did very well at the University of Iowa, and now the sports market is really going to determine her future, I think. And I think I'd have chosen a different team, though. The Indiana Fever.
Oh boy,
sounds like a team where Dr. Fauci ought to be the coach.
Where did that come from?
Pushing vaccines to get rid of the fever.
I guess, okay, I'm the only woman on this panel right now, and I can tell you, I find it just,
we're replacing you soon with the trans woman.
Probably. And I'm finding it, a little horrifying that, they can't support her. Why can't they support her? She's not politically motivated. She's not doing anything. She's a talented basketball player, and she's making some good money. That girl's an athlete. She is good.
The answer is so easy, Sarah. She's not part of the LGBTQ plus crowd.
Yes.
That's why.
You can espouse anything you want and think anything you want on The View, as long as it is establishment, Democrat politics, advancing the goal of getting Biden reelected. It is the entire production is a donation in kind. It's shocking, really. I think when I watch it anyway, I'm shocked that any opinion is okay as long as it's that narrative that facilitates that candidacy.
I mean, turn the tables. Turn the tables. What if somebody said that about a tall, beautiful black woman playing basketball, or how about Megan Rappaport, who everybody embraced and loved her because she would kneel and flip off the flag or whatever she did, and she was white and pretty.
But she was also gay, as Dave pointed out.
One thing I'll say though about the View, they're not really economically illiterate, because they keep saying, not just The View, but so many others saying, oh, this Caitlin Clark, she should be making as much as the NBA stars. But it's so astounding to me, because the WNBA is a subsidized entity, and it doesn't, not by the government, but in the private sector, and it doesn't generate revenues. Nobody cares about the WNBA. People would rather watch, of course, the NBA over WNBA. These people are not as talented as them. It's a joke. It's laughable watching them play. It's not fun to watch. So WNBA, I think, as part of a broader conversation, is just not interesting.
If Caitlin
You don't
Clark
like women's
manages
basketball, Andrew?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think Scott was going to say, if Caitlin Clark brings as much revenue as the NBA players, then of course the WNBA would generate more revenue.
Hey, Scott, I guess you could take a nap.
I was going to say that she's worth 10x her salary if she brings eyes to the WNBA.
Yes, exactly. That's basic economics.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're very good games to watch. They don't do the crazy stunts that the men's teams do, but still, I mean,
that's what brings the spectators, though. I mean, they don't dunk.
It does.
Honestly.
I know.
I mean,
but that was my point.
High school boys dunk.
The sports market is going to determine her future.
I still want to know why. I'm going to redirect this. Why why do women pack up and not support other women? And I
Because-
want to hear from you guys, because
Well,
you're guys.
because this is nothing to do with because progressive women do not they don't care at all about the gender thing. They'll tear any woman down who doesn't fit into their narrative. There's no loyalty there. There's no love towards other women just because they're women. They don't like Caitlin Clark because she is a female excelling in a female sport in a time when the left is pushing the transgender movement to basically completely wipe out female sports. And so they don't want Caitlin Clark highlighted because she is an actual woman and is at the top of her game in a woman's sport. Now, I would say, yes, if Caitlin Clark was black, she would probably escape their ire. But because she's white, oh no, they're all over it. And the ironically named women, Whoopi, Sunny, and Joy, I say ironic because they are the angriest people in America. They don't give two hoots. Let me put it that way. That she is a woman.
Graham, you need to make a meme out of that. That would be a perfect Liberty Nation meme, I tell you. But I would say, though, liberal women, they always say there needs to be more female representation in politics or whatever industry that they're victims of. But the key thing is that unless they possess the wrong views, then they'll hate them no matter what. Sarah Palin in 2008, she was mocked to high heaven. Of course, you contrast it to Kamala Harris, who's the real life version of Selena Meyer in VP, played by the lovely Julie Louis-Dreyfus. She never gets mocked, despite just being an absolute, I'm not going to say what it is,
Abomination.
Melania Trump, she was attacked routinely, just because she was married to Donald Trump. You go overseas, you see the brutal attacks against Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni or French politician Marine Le Pen. Constantly these people are torn down because they might not support abortion or they're religious or they just identify as the wrong political party. So they don't believe in that whole thing of more female representation. They believe in more leftist female representation.
I mean, didn't Joy Behar, when all this blackface bull was going on, they found a picture of her in blackface?
Whoopi
and she was one of the biggest people talking about it.
The recipient of a roast by Ted Danson while in blackface that she proclaimed to be like the funniest thing she ever saw. It's only when these things that can be used to weaponize narrative against those they disagree with politically that they are. Otherwise, it's a nothing burger. It's
Justin Trudeau, blackface and brownface. And what happened? He got another government. He got another majority government.
Virginia had a governor who was either in blackface or in a Klan outfit and wouldn't disclose which, famously, in a photograph. He said, I was one of those people. But somehow that doesn't require shunning.
I don't know. I don't get it. I guess it's living in a bubble or something, but I don't get it. And I don't watch The View because I have a job and I'm not home when it's on. And I wouldn't watch it if I was. So I guess all that estrogen power is exhausted to denigrate a very successful, talented, and well-recognized woman in professional sports. And I think that's sad. I think it's sad. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, panel. Well, we're back to have a little fun with the panel of curmudgeons, but, suck it up, guys. It's a C5 game of Jeopardy, and Andrew Moran, resident comic, will explain the rules and run the board. Hands-on buzzers, please.
All right, so welcome everyone to the Conservative Fives Jeopardy. I'm sure everyone knows how this game show works. You're all very, very smart gentlemen. You're the lovely people, so I'm not even going to go into detail of the rules. So I'm your temporary host, Andrew Moran. I'm not as lovely as Sarah Cowgill, of course.
By the way, I'm not a gentleman, just so you know.
What is federalism? What? Did I say that out loud?
It's already off the rails.
Now on to our really big show. Question 1. This former president's tweets are so legendary they have inspired a new literary genre. 280 character poetry?
Donald
It
Trump.
was Donald Trump.
Scott
Who is
gets
Donald
it because he
Trump?
said, "Who is Donald Trump?" So there you go. Scott gets it.
Can I mention that I've never watched an episode of Jeopardy in my life? I have no idea.
Oh boy.
Here
Okay,
come
so
the
that's-
excuses.
Now you have homework.
Here come the excuses.
Okay, so like in that case, then I provide an answer, and then your response is with the question. So as Scott just did it. Who is John Trump?
Okay.
Question.
All right.
All right. So now we have question number 2. This politician's favorite mode of transportation is a time machine, often taking us back to the good old days, or so he thinks.
Who's Joe Biden?
Who is Joe Biden? Scott. Oh, Scott.
That's gonna sweep the board.
Question number 3. Speaking to reporters in prepared remarks, this president said, quote, "Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do
Who
we."
is Donald Trump? Did you say president?
Yes, president.
Oh, Reagan. Who is Reagan?
Nope.
Who is
All right, I'm stopping. I'm stopping.
Who is George Bush? He said this famous gaffe in Washington, D.C. in 2004.
Oh,
Question number 4. When this political party says Green New Deal, what they really mean is taking your money and taxpayers have to do
Who are the
with it.
Democrats?
That is correct. What is the Democratic Party? Question number 5. This sitting senator spends his free time binge watching episodes of The West Wing and thinking about what could have been.
Who was Mitt Romney?
That or Bernie Sanders. So yes, Scott gets it also. Good job.
wow.
Thank you, sir.
I don't
Question
know those
num-
things.
Question number 6. This political party folds faster than Superman on Laundry Day.
Who is the Republican Party? What is the Republican Party?
Yes. All right. So, this question number 7. This political ideology's motto is "from each according to their ability, to each according to their need."
What are the
for-
What is
communists?
communism?
No. I have a whole joke here. No. You gotta wait to the end of
Alright.
it. I have a whole joke. Okay. So question number 7 again. This political ideology's motto is "from each according to their ability, to each according to their need for the latest Apple iPhone, free Wi-Fi, someone else's labor, and a Starbucks drink comprised of 1 bag of Mint Majesty, 1 bag of Jade Citrus Mint, 5 pumps honey, 5 pumps peppermint, and then half of the cup has to be steamed lemonade."
Who are the Chinese communists?
Who are the Democrats?
I think Graham had the answer first. Before I asked.
Communists?
When I rudely interrupted you, I just said communists. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
that is their
You
ideology.
still got to form it in a question.
Forget about it. I'll bend the rules just for Graham. Just for Graham, because I always bother.
Of course.
Question number 6. Scott's going to love this one. This political party enjoys receiving 3% of the
Who are
vote.
the Libertarians?
Question number 9. President Joe Biden said America could be defined with this one word.
What is Haya?
Absolutely, that is correct.
I'm on the board.
All right,
Mocking the president. Great.
All right, we have now double jeopardy. Oh, no, sorry, final jeopardy. All right. So, question number 10. Please wait to the end of this question to answer. And Scott, just before we close out, Scott is on the board with 4. Graham is on the board with 2. Dave is on the board with 2 as well, and Sarah's on the board with 1.
Okay, don't on Final Jeopardy we have to bet. So I'm betting my whole thing.
You can't win. Graham can tie if he bets it all. I'm the market leader.
You all bet it all,
I've-
then you get it wrong, you lose, and I could win.
That's true.
Okay.
In the unlikely event that happens, that would be
In
true.
the very unlikely event that happens.
Okay, I want to see if I win, then I'll tell you what I bet.
Fair enough.
So whoever wins this gets to give me a big hug at the next Liberty Nation retreat.
Uh-huh.
I know
You gotta show up.
Graham is going to do his
Dude.
best to get this answer correct.
Let's have our answer, please.
All right, here we go. This flag has red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, 6 triangles, a circle, an umbrella, and another giant circle.
what is the trans rights flag or whatever it is, the LGBTQ blah 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 blah, the other 26 letters of the alphabet flag?
I'm going to give it to Graham. However, if anybody provides me a specific name for it, I will give it to that person.
The pride flag.
Pride flag. There you go. Dave gets it.
That is the right. That is the
Really?
correct name for it. Yes.
I
yeah.
thought it was just a rainbow.
No. They updated now. They provided all these different things to it. So Sarah, get on board. You got to follow. So actually, it's now a tie between Scott and Dave with 3 points
Got
each.
all those right. Somehow he tied. Really? All right.
He did. Yes, he actually did. Surprise. So now you guys have a duel behind the scenes of Liberty Nation to determine who is the winner of the Conservative Fives Jeopardy. All right, so that is it for the Conservative Fives Jeopardy, and let's give it back now to Miss Sarah Cowgill.
Well, folks, thank you. I think you can all see how well these fine people follow directions. Welcome to my world. Hopefully you all had fun, and thanks for tuning in again. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for Free Thinking, Free Speech, libertynation.com.